Here's a really nice drill that you can do from the first week. It's excellent in a class where you can make this into a competition, or you can do it with your personal training clients. We call this drill flash pads. Let me show you how it's done. Rich gets into his stance and he has to stay in range when I'm moving. The way that he does that is he looks here, just there. This is one of the least moving parts of my body. My arms and legs will move around all over the place, but this part, the sternal notch, is relatively straightforward and it's relatively stable. So what he has to do is I put both my pads up and he has to contact both pads within 1 second. 1 point to Rich. It's not me versus Rich, it's Rich versus everyone else in the class. Let me do that again. 2 points. Now what we are not doing is we're not doing waiting for them pads. We'll move around and I'll show you what we should be doing. So it should look like this. Yeah, sure. What I'm not doing is waiting for Rich to take his shot. I put them up 1 second, then they're gone. I pull them back down. If he misses them, he loses a point. He must contact both pads in order to score 1 point. Here's an example of me not waiting for him. So if he's out of range, I'm not going to wait for Rich to score the punch. So in that thing there, Rich scored 1 point. I showed the pads 3 times, but he only scores 1 point. Now what you can do is you can do this to make it a competition between members of your class, see who scores the highest, and what you do is you adjust your level according to what they are doing. So if they're really good, you work at a much higher level than we were there. That's a very basic level, maybe a level 1 or 2. If someone's very good, you can take them up to a level 10. It's just dependent on how good your footwork is. What you mustn't do though, is you must not move backwards when you have the pads on, because this makes it impossible for them to hit. You need to give them a clear shot at that target for 1 second. When you work with someone that is better, the flash is much shorter, closer to ½ a second. So just a very quick, like that. It's brilliant as a footwork drill, not just as a punching drill, and it teaches our boxers to get into range and stay in range and then get out of range. What it doesn't do is enable them to plant their feet and just slug away, as so many do. Let's show you a couple of examples of this at different level. We're going to do this at level 1 now. Okay, so here's level 1. I'm going to leave the pads up for quite a bit, and I'm not going to move too quick. When I put my pads up, I'm going to lock my feet down. That gives my beginner a chance to hit the pads. Did you find your range? Okay. And that. There we are, level 1. Now let's show you something moving around a little bit quicker, so someone that would be a little bit more advanced. So that was a different level. That was a higher level of intensity. I was making Rich move around a lot more, and the flash was a little bit faster, the flash of the pads. What we need to do is we need to adjust our level according to the level of the person that we're working with. A, their boxing ability and their ability to stay in range and ability to throw punches, and B, the type of training that we want them to do. Because if we have someone that is new to exercise, we don't want them to be blowing up and to be working so hard that they can't keep up with you. There's a correlation between breathing rate and heart rate, and the breathing rate rises in direct correlation with the heart rate. Now, if someone is new to exercise and is just getting into it, we want them to be able to work so that they're able to talk to you. We call it the talk test. So that person should be able to talk to you and maybe able to say, yes, I'm fine and I'm able to keep exercising. And that's a good rate to keep that person, a good breathing rate to keep that person working at. However, if you've got someone that is hopefully wanting to burn a bit of fat or wants to do an aerobic style workout and they want to work that little bit harder, they should be able to talk to you, so they're just able to talk. So they have to take a breath before they speak to you like that. And that means that they're working in that training zone. However, if you're working with someone that is super fit, a competitive athlete, or someone that's very, very technically good, with that person, they should pretty much not be able to talk to you whilst you're doing this drill. Maybe say the odd word here or there, or even grunt at you, but very little else. And us as a trainer, we have to watch A, what ability they have boxing, and B, what training rate we want them to work at. And we should be asking them, are you okay? Is this the right rate? And we can move them around, and we can then judge how best to train them. Here's an example of me observing Rich and his breathing rate and his heart rate and his boxing ability, and moving him around whilst we're working at a much higher level of intensity. Watch this. So as you can see, I, the trainer, should make the person who's punching move around me. So I am able to talk to them, able to ask them questions, yet they should be out of breath. For those of you who are teaching a class, you may or may not know that the average life expectancy of someone coming to a new class is about 6 to 8 weeks. And at that point, their motivation drops and it may plummet. So at that point, what you can do is you can say to somebody, I'm going to give you your own set of reps when you can get 20 points. So you give it, say for example, 20 points. It doesn't have to be 20, but about 20 points. When they do that, you give them a set of their own hand wraps, and they will then have their own wraps. And of course, they will feel remotivated. Now, these things are only going to cost you about £5 to give to them. And this works especially well for personal trainers. Around about the 6th to the 8th session, people's motivation drops. Now, what do people like talking about most? They like talking about themselves. We know this. So, once somebody has lost a little bit of weight and they're starting to look good, their friends will notice. And if they suddenly win their own set of hand wraps, and then they go and they say to their friends, look, I've won my own set of hand wraps, because people like talking about themselves. They'll go and they'll tell their friends, and really they are then advertising you, so that you can then go out and you can get their friend as a client as well. So capitalize on people's wishes to talk about themselves. It's going to cost you maybe £5 to give them a set of their own hand wraps, but they will then be walking around with these and they'll be advertising you. So with these things, with focus pads or hook and jab pads, you can make yourself indispensable as a personal trainer, because no one can do pads on their own. We hope you've enjoyed that really brief introduction to our basic version of flash pads. Check out our other video, which is a more advanced version of flash pads. Please make sure that if you're going to attempt this drill, you do so with a qualified instructor. Make sure that the person is good and is not going to cause you any injuries to yourself or to themselves. Good luck with the flash pads drill, guys.